Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of
Because you don't know football.
Tim. I'm still stuffed from Thanksgiving.
Man, that was a awesome week, but ate way too much as usual. I was scared to get on the scale, Tariq.
Listen, I've been wearing sauna suits at the
Oh,
at the gym and everything.
shit, man. I'm about to put on some I was putting on some jeans today and I was like, whew, these were less tight before
Uh,
before the Thanksgiving holiday. So I feel you definitely got what a couple weeks till Christmas. Gonna have to rein that in before we go back on another binge of
listen,
holiday eating.
listen, man. This season, this year is going by so fast, man. So
All right. Think about this. We're talking about this, but the next football game that is played in the NFL, week 13, this Thursday, it will be December.
think about it like this: the New Year's 5 weeks away.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, one of our later episodes, we'll have to see if we have any New Year's resolutions. Mine's going to be not binge eat all the time, but so,
Don't worry, I got a couple of myself too. So, all right, cool. So last week we had a real good slate of games. Let's talk about it. The one game I really wanted to start with actually was the Bills and Lions on Thanksgiving. Listen,
I
like I said
know.
at the beginning of this year, I said the Lions, they're not like a team that's gonna like win all these games, but they're a team that's like, they're gonna keep it close all year. And they've pretty much without like 2 weeks. I mean, besides 2 weeks, they've pretty much kept it close on every game. But yeah, the Bills, man. What do you think? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about it a few times. The Lions, I feel like love to hate them. I was trying to find they're 4-7 and right now. So as you mentioned, they constantly have been in games. Their offense is starting to produce, but they do not know how to stop anyone, having one of the worst defense in the leagues. The interesting part, and we were talking about this earlier, is just the Buffalo Bills. They're 8-3, and they're in a ridiculously difficult division right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where pretty much everyone is in getting ready to be into the playoffs, and they yes, they scrapped out this win, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for them. Just trying to find it here too. I was just looking for their record. They lost a couple of games recently that
They're
were
8-3.
close. What's that?
They're
Yeah,
eight.
yeah.
They're
Eight and
top.
four.
Well, they're tied for first place in the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, look, absolutely, they still can. Not all's lost. Where I was going with it though is, they lose to the Jets, they lost to the Vikings, and then they've won two straight. But against the Browns and the Lions, they have a tough road ahead of them. I mean, look, their next three games, the Buffalo Bills, next three games at the Patriots versus the New York Jets, versus the Miami Dolphins, and then you get the Bears, Bengals, and the Patriots again.
Wow, they
That
didn't play the Patriots at all this year. I thought they played them at least once. Okay.
So let's put it this way. I mean, you're looking at a potential 3 to 4 more losses there. Not,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could win them. They can go either way. But the reason
And the
why I brought that up,
Dolphins.
we talked
And the
about
Dolphins are looking good right now.
I know Patriots just played a tough game against Minnesota. I mean, they're all out. The Jets are playing well. Who knows what's happening with the quarterback? But I think the Bills are going to be interesting as much as we hyped them up preseason and they're still at first. It's
Which
just a crazy division. They might not get out of it. Now, good thing is, like it looks like that whole entire division's making the playoffs, so they might, but it's going to be close. We'll see. There's a lot of conference games still to be played.
yeah, the most interesting about that did like they were talking about it on one of the sports shows about Josh Allen's like him as a quarterback the last 6 weeks. Like he started off at this like all world level, and then like the last 6 weeks, he's basically like what's his name, Davis Mills from the Texans. Like their numbers are like equal. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So like he's come down to earth a lot. So what I expect is Josh Allen to pick up his play, which means the
yeah.
uh the Bills get up. But like the only thing that I'm really worried about is they got a lot of injuries, man. Von Miller's out for the like is he out
That's
for
a
the
tough
year?
one. That changes everything. It changes
That
that whole.
changes everything. But like that it's their injuries that really scares me more than what I think Josh Allen, how capable I think Josh Allen is to get out of it. But
Yeah.
we're just gonna have to see. That's gonna be interesting though. You're absolutely right. That's interesting. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
All right.
Um,
Rock. we had a great slate of games in general this weekend. And I think the three of them on Thursday on Thanksgiving. I mean, just quickly to talk about the Cowboys completing the sweep against the Giants. It's always good inside that division. I think the Cowboys, they looked flat in the first half. I mean, they were down 13-7, turned it on in the second quarter and were able to put it away. At one point they were up by 14 points or whatever, 15 points, and ended up giving up a touchdown in the fourth. But the Giants are 7-4. I think they're coming back down to earth a bit. We'll see if they're able to maintain their. I was actually looking at the games this week, and we would talk about this, but they're an underdog. They are the underdog to the Commanders this week.
I was ready to say that.
The Commanders are the favorite. There's no love for the Giants at all this year. So we'll see. That's going to be an interesting game to talk about later as well. But, with the Cowboys, I think, turned it around the last two games after their loss to the Packers that I freaked out about, but absolutely freaked out about. But, they romped the Vikings recently and then win this game, which is, again, a good win. I don't think they look spectacular, but Micah Parsons had another 2 sacks, just absolutely dominant on everything he does. So, they just got to keep firing on all cylinders, but we're going to see what happens there.
Yeah, so I think this is more about the Cowboys and less about the Giants because, like I said, I'm not a person that thinks I'm a person that believes if you don't have a quarterback, you don't win consistently. So I kind of expected. I mean, for everything that they did in their hot start and how strong that they looked, they're only one game ahead of the Commanders. They're one game and they're the underdogs playing them, so they could very well be in last place in their division at the end of this upcoming week. So I think it's more about the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys have cemented themselves as one of the top 4 teams in the NFC, period.
Well, what I'm glad to see here is the Cowboys, I'm just looking at their stats here, another 169 rushing yards. With 90
Pollard. For Tony Pollard.
Well, they're splitting the carries. 16 for Zeke at 92 yards, and Tony Pollard had 18 at 60, right? You're keeping it on the ground. You're keeping it. Dak's still throwing the ball 30 times a game, but it's not like, hey, go win us a game right now. If they can get out in front, they can keep the ball on the ground and just really control the clock. That defense typically is going to eat people up and keep them, keep the offense on the field. So it's a working strategy right now, and I agree with you. It'll be an interesting road. If we can catch the Eagles, they're going to need to drop one, hopefully before we get to them on Christmas Eve. So if they can drop one and then we can beat them on Christmas Eve, then Cowboys can beat them. Then we're looking at possibly having the division.
Now that game's looking real good. Now, isn't the one with the tickets that you got? Now that game's looking real good.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm ready. My dad and I we already started the bicker, and my dad's an Eagles fan, and he's like, Eagles are going to have the division locked up by that game. It's not even going to matter. And I was like, yeah, right. You guys drop one. We keep rolling. We go in there. We'll take that division from you right on that game. But it's going to be a tight one. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I think Cowboys are one of the top 4 teams. I personally am still a little worried about. I think they have a high ceiling, but I'm worried about where their floor is. I think that I still need to see where their floor is because that's just about consistency. Because they've shown that they can. Playing like Minnesota, they'll go in and they'll blow them out. You know what I mean? So we know that the Cowboys can play up to anybody. I just don't know where the floor is. So.
The biggest. I tend to agree with him with this one statement, as much as I disagree with a lot he says. But Stephen A. Smith, consistently, he's the biggest Cowboys hater in the world. He said it's a matter of time. Just have patience. They'll mess it up. And the last 25 years, it's proven him right. So as a Cowboys fan, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop as well, but we'll see what happens. Right now, I'm liking it.
All right, cool. All right, going on now. Also on Thanksgiving. By the way, I think this might have been the best slate of games in Thanksgiving that I can personally remember. Really good games. Usually there's a terrible game on Thanksgiving that you're just like, well, this is all that's on. But the Vikings, they beat the Patriots. They bounced back from that really hard loss to the Cowboys, and they beat the Patriots. I think for me, the Vikings, like I said, I don't think that they're the consistent team. I'm putting them in the same boat as the Cowboys. I know that they can play up,
Yeah.
but I don't know exactly where their floor is. And also, but I will say this: being a team that can play up to anybody, for me, the most dangerous thing that I can say about the Vikings come playoff time is that if they play the if they play the Eagles or the Cowboys, they got blew out to a team that they are actually pretty evenly
Yeah.
matched with, and they now get the opportunity to rebound from said loss. And I think that's a scary thing. And I think that's something that you should consider, or that I will continue to consider come playoff time about the Vikings.
I mean, look, at this point they're 9-2. They're they're quickly showing that they're resilient in any of these games, right? Like got smoked by the Cowboys. Let's say it is. Everyone's like, oh, they came back down there. But then they come and play a Patriots team that's playing relatively well. Our man Mac Jones went for like 382. I think it was his biggest passing game of his career, right? So they were able to fight that off. I think they were down by 7 at one point, maybe 10.
Mm-hmm.
Were able to come back. Defense was able to, lock down the Patriots moving into the fourth quarter and pull out that victory, right? They're just resilient. This is this team, right? So the Cowboys, we just talked about the Cowboys. If the Cowboys go up, they're likely not losing, bar that Patriot or that Packers game where they did give up a 14-point lead. Like their defense is typically good enough to be able to hold on to a game. The Vikings have shown time and time again that they can they'll take a punch to the mouth and they'll still be able to figure it out at the end, or at least make it close. And they're 9-2 as a moment to reward them of that. They have an okay schedule coming out. They should actually win most of these games. Looking at it, it's not overly tough, but yeah, I mean, in the NFC, you got the Eagles and then you got the Vikings. They've definitely have shown themselves to be the top two teams right now. So they'll be interesting to the point, the Cowboys and them go against each other again. That's going to be a revenge game and talked about if that happens, if we see that matchup. So hopefully if it does happen, the Cowboys come to play.
Yeah, that's just my thing. I never want to play a team that I blew out that is very talented, because they want you now. Now they're like, all right, I gotta, like, you blew me out, like you embarrassed me. I'm coming to embarrass you. You know what I mean? So you got to play there. Like now you got to play up even higher than you were to now sweep that team. It's very hard
extremely
to beat
difficult
in the same season.
And it's extremely difficult, as we've seen by everyone, to cover Justin Jefferson. Another 139, nine receptions on Thanksgiving Day.
Awesome.
I mean, they were putting his head on that Randy Moss photo from Randy Moss Spectacular Thanksgiving Day. So I mean, yeah, that kid's phenomenal. So we'll see.
That's also very hard to do. It's cover Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, going on. One game that I thought was a good game and I really wanted to see it was the Bengals at Titans. So if you remember last year, the Titans were the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Bengals went into Tennessee and they beat them. And even in that game, Joe Burrow got sacked like 9 times. And that's never happened where a quarterback did it. So I wanted to see the rematch. I know this was on the Titans' mind all year, but the Bengals went back in and they looked impressive, man, without Ja'Marr Chase.
Yeah, weren't they missing Joe Mixon too?
Yep. Yes. No Joe Mixon, no Ja'Marr Chase, and they still go in and they cover again.
Yeah, no, it was pretty impressive, right? They pretty much had the Titans the entire time. Looked like they had a solid team performance. Joe Burrow with another 270. Not much of a run game, but a combined 100 yards. T. Higgins showing up without Ja'Marr Chase in play. But yeah, no, I agree. I think, look, the Vikings or not the Bengals, we were talking about them earlier in the season. They're like 7-2 since their 0-2 start. So it's a pretty solid team.
Okay. Yeah, just let you know, Tim, your screen went out for a second. I can see you now. Before your screen went out, but like now you're back and everything.
Yeah, I saw.
No, we could hear you.
I saw that great face that I had made there that was frozen on. So just try to flip that off. Fix that for us.
Yeah, but I'll say this in situations like that. This is why you need the quarterback, and this is why I'm so high on Joe Burrow,
Yeah.
I think Joe Burrow has been bucking the trend since he came in. Like he came in going to Ohio State and then LSU. Usually quarterbacks that go to big schools, they don't do well in the NFL because they always have more talent than the teams that they're playing. He's come in and he's done that. He never had an offensive line. He's still done that. He's getting hit all the time. It's not mattering. I am a big Joe Burrow fan now.
Yeah, I mean, I looked, what was he sacked? Was it one? He was only sacked once, I think, last week, carried 4 times, which is great improvement by that offensive line, right? And he mentioned it when they were doing like all the pregame interviews and stuff like that. He just said, look, it was a new group.
Mm-hmm.
It was a new offensive line. They put some new pieces in there. And as an offensive lineman myself, growing up and playing through college, it was difficult. You get a new piece in there, to gel with individuals, to just know how people flow in different blocking schemes. It takes a while. They're professionals, so you expect it to happen immediately, but yeah, it definitely takes some time. And looks like they figured it out so far. And Joe Burrow is dangerous. I mean, he's one of those guys. You give him a 7-point game with the game, with the ball in his hands in under 2 minutes. I'm like, yeah, we're good. Like it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, moving on to the shocker of the week, Jacksonville beat Baltimore.
How about it, right?
Did not see that coming.
No,
But listen, Jacksonville's a really good team, man. Jacksonville's a good team. I think Trevor Lawrence, I think this is a game where he came into his own. I see this as a turning point for Jacksonville coming into like next year. I think they're going to be a very scary team. I'm very curious to see what they do in the draft. But man, they did what they had to do, man, and they closed out a very good team. They closed out a very good team. So
and very, very Doug Peterson too, right? Very much him. Just scored, final seconds of the game and said, "We ain't tying here. We ain't going there."
Yeah, that took some. Listen, that took some grapefruits
without any copyright infringement. Let's make sure we put that video of the Ravens fan crushing his keyboard. That's all over Twitter right now. I'll send it to you if you don't have it. That's got to go there as well. Pretty stunning. I absolutely agree. I mean, even fans were getting on Lamar Jackson afterwards and crushing him because he wants all this money. And we talked about it. Lamar Jackson deserves all the money in the world. But, he's 16 of 32, 254 yards. And then he had another 89 yards on the ground himself. Like he does it all. Like he is that offense, right? I mean, his leading wide receiver was Josh Oliver, then Deshaun Jackson, and then Mark Andrews, right? Like he doesn't have any like massively huge names that we have. I mean, Mark Andrews as a tight end, but you don't expect.
He got Deshaun now. He got Deshaun now. Did you see him? He was up there. He got Deshaun.
I know, but this is Deshaun Jackson in 2022, not 2014 or whatever when he was high flying with the Eagles. But no, I agree. Look, I mean, they're still 7-4. They're going to be in a tough conference as well with Cincinnati buying for that conference. But I think we end up, got to see how they end up. The question will be is this something Lamar Jackson can overcome and really put it on people? Fortunately, they have a relatively lax schedule, I should say, for the next few games, right? They go Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Falcons, Steelers, Bengals. Mm-hmm. I mean,
you would imagine that there's
got to win there. All of them or only lose maybe one, but that's good for them. But again, we'll see how Lamar responds. And it's not that he even played bad. I mean, you can't help it if your defense isn't stopping anyone either. But yeah, if your defense is going to give up 28 points and not stop a 2-point conversion. But yeah, interesting. Definitely was one of the better games this week as well.
Right. So I think that wraps up this Thanksgiving week here. So
I don't got nothing else other than I really wish the Packers would have pulled that out against the Eagles.
I'm sure you do.
they looked good for a minute and then they didn't. And it was like, but before we move on to that, How about it? Jordan Love might be getting his he didn't look terrible. 6-9. He went like a little over 100 yards at the end of the game.
He looked vastly better than the last time we saw him a year ago.
Looked composed, looked like he knew what he throw, making good throws. The interesting part is I didn't look up to see what Aaron Rodgers' diagnosis is now, but I know he mentioned he thought he had a punctured lung. We'll see if he has any injuries to those ribs. But at what point do the Packers just say, we're shutting you down, right? Like we're shutting you down. Like
right.
we're not going to make.
We got to see.
We're not going to make the playoffs. Let's not, like, you can have the team next year, but we're not going to let you die out there. And then you shut him down, or maybe he doesn't even want to be there anymore. And it's time to go to Jordan Love. But that'll be an interesting. We'll see with the last few weeks of the season as well.
Oh, and in closing out this week, I just want you to know the Rams are done. Now there's absolutely positively going to be a new Super Bowl champion this year. They're not going to qualify for the playoffs.
Is there a biggest second-year bust team that we know of? We should look that up for next week, because the Rams have got to qualify for that. Like, just had the worst follow-up season to a Super Bowl run.
I mean, this is what happens this is the downside to what they do. They don't have depth. They don't have, they have a whole bunch of expiring contracts, which they got to pay all these people all the time. So you pay people high some years, you got to come on down, and unfortunately, they've come down hard. Okay, cool. So what else were we going to talk about today?
That's enough for the last week's games. It's Tuesday, so we got a couple games coming up. I just love this. Like, have a game on Monday, take 2 days off for a breather, and getting right back at it with a Thursday night game. Thursday night game, we just talked about both of these teams. I'm actually interested in it. It sucks it's on Thursday, because this is definitely should be a Sunday game. But the Bills at New England.
Bills at the Patriots. What you do? Yeah, man, that's gonna be a good one. What you think about that, Tim?
I think the Patriots might win this outright. We just talked about this.
So is that your pick? Is that your pick?
If we're gonna, I don't know if I'm taking it as an actual pick yet, but hold on. Let me talk through this. I do think, so let me take a step back. If we're going to talk about lines, like spreads, it's the Bills are favored by 5. I would take the 5 points in the Patriots all day long. I'm not sure if I want them straight up, but I do think they have a possibility of winning this straight up. And here's why. Yes, we just talked about how good Josh Allen is supposed to be and has been all year long. But he does it all. I mean, he is the main. I mean, he's clearly their leading passer, but he's also their leading rusher, right? And while part of that's design, part of that's out of necessity. Of course, they do have Stephon Diggs. They have Singletary as well, so they have some weapons. But I think this is where Bill Belichick goes, I'm Bill Belichick, and I know how to scheme the shit out of anyone. And I think at home, knowing this is, this division is locked up. This is something where, they just came off of a loss. They're going to have to win this game. The Patriots will, right? So I think this is one where they come in and say, we need to take this game at home, because they have the Bills again later in the season for the last week of the season in Buffalo. If you lose this game, you drop 2 to them, and you're right. I don't say you're done, but this is where I think Bill Belichick comes. All right, look, they don't have Von Miller now. They're going to attack the hell out of whatever Von Miller was. They're just going to that it's clearly a downgrade on that defense. So let me think about if I want to pick them straight up. But I think this is going to be a good one on Thursday night to see where we end up.
Week 13, man, I tell you. All right, so I'll give my straight up pick on this game. Like I said, the thing that scares me about the Bills is all the injuries. Like, if you look like at the the thing, their center out. They got 2 defensive ends that are out. They have Tremaine Edmonds is out. Von Miller's out. Elam, their cornerback, their rookie cornerback, is out. So I think this is a game where, and I hate it because I hate New England, and I do, I hate New England. But I think New England's going to win this game, and I think they have to win this game because I see eventually Josh Allen's going to figure out how to put this on his back. But I think he's still trying to figure out what exactly he has to do to put it on his back. So I think
So you're taking them straight up.
I'm taking them straight up.
Oh yeah, I feel like I'm leaning that way too. I'm telling you why I like them. I just feel like it also could be one of those games where Josh Allen just says, you know what, I'm going to do Josh Allen things. But looking at their record here, I mean, they came off of the 2 losses. They have 2 good wins. Packers beat the Chiefs. I think I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with the Patriots as well.
All right, cool.
This is going to be one of those games where I think I can't go against. I mean, I don't know. It'll end up being a blowout. It might be a defensive game too, right? Mm-hmm. Both teams are giving up around 18 points a game. So it could be one of these like awfully low scoring, Jets Patriots game that we saw recently where it's just miserable. But it might be one of those where they just, Bill Belichick schemes the hell out of Buffalo to not let Josh Allen do anything and just somehow tries to keep Mac Jones on the field as long as possible.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I guess we see eye to eye on that one. All right, cool. So the next game that we're going to talk about for next week, for week 13, is, for me, Titans-Eagles. I think you got to talk about that game. That's a game that it has a lot. I don't think it has a lot of implications, but I think it has more implications for the Eagles than the Titans. And I think the Eagles do have to win this game only because, just like you said, if they drop a game, all of a sudden Dallas is sitting right there, And I think that's in their minds too. So I think
it's not even just that. I mean, they're looking at Minnesota, right? Like at this point,
Minnesota.
You're just straight up trying to get the first round bye. So, and with how close all of these teams are in that top 3 or 4 in the NFC, like you're right. Like not only could you lose first round bye, you might lose the division by losing this game. But go ahead. What are you thinking on this game?
So I think, especially because it's in Philly, I'm going to go Philly. I think that defense I think Philly's defense, their cornerbacks are good enough to basically say, all right, we can key in on Derrick Henry, and that's our focus. Like Ryan Tannehill is not our focus. Derrick Henry is our focus, and I think that's a defense that can do that while still creating a pass rush. So I think at home, I think I like Eagles.
I mean, I do agree with you. I don't know that Tennessee has enough of an offense to beat the Eagles. The one thing is where Tennessee has the opportunity and the chance to actually beat them is we saw the Eagles are they suck against the run for the most part. Like even the Colts, were able to run against them. The Commanders beat them because of the run. I mean, even just this last week, or just the other night, Aaron Jones was able to have himself a decent day. So it'll be interesting on whether or not they can just actually stop Derrick Henry in that run offense. But to your point, you can put 8 in the box and just say man coverage with your wideouts. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is the person that's going to get it done for you. And the Eagles are just scary. That offense is scary. I mean, you can't stop Jalen Hurts right now. I mean, he can throw the ball where he wants. And then at the same time, he's almost impossible to tackle. And their scheme, that offensive line is giving him all the time in the world. So he's able to just, roll out to the right, roll out to the left. Nothing there. Make one person miss and has 15 yards. And he had 52 yards in 3 minutes last game. End up with almost 160 or something. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. So not saying he's going to consistently do that, but he's that difference maker. You could be 3rd and 8 and it doesn't matter. He's going to be able to get the, you could literally run a run pass option and he could still get the, he can get the yardage himself if he needs to. So,
right. So
I would go Eagles with that as well. I mean, for selfish reasons, I very much hope the Tennessee Titans pull it out, but it's in Philly. If it was vice versa, then maybe, but being in Philly, it's really tough to go there to play.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree with you. So next game, Chiefs at Bengals. Rematch. Now remember, this is the once again, just like we said about Tennessee, the Bengals took the Chiefs out last year too. So this would be Kansas City coming in with the same situation and saying, I want revenge for what happened.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that one?
Um, the only reason this is even like remotely where I remotely consider this a competition is we just talked about how the Bengals are, Joey Cool is, putting it together. His offensive line has been putting it together, been able to play recently decently well for him. I just the Kansas City Chiefs just are on another level right now. Like I think the Chiefs just walk in there. The only reason this is like a consideration for me that the Bengals have a chance is because it's in Cincinnati. Playing at home gets you a bit more geared up than it does. But the Kansas City Chiefs are on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game winning streak, and they lost a tough one to the Bills before that. So they're 7-1 in their last 8. Like they're just dominating teams. I mean, they're dominating teams they should dominate. But yeah, they're just playing outstanding football. And Patrick Mahomes, he might be the best quarterback in the league. So he's definitely a front runner for the MVP at the moment. So I would go directly with the Chiefs. And I think the other thing is, before you go, the question will be as well is where's Mixon and Jamar Chase?
So
Right?
I was just looking at the injury report for them. They're both back up to questionable. So I think that usually questionable means you're going to play, and I think in this game I can see them both playing.
Yeah.
Actually, I think this is going to be the game of the week. I think this game is going to be exciting. I can't wait to watch this game. Um,
Well, you
Now
have
I'm gonna start off with the pick. I'm picking the Chiefs. Um, here's the real reason. I don't know if the Bengals once again are that team that can consistently be the hunted. So this week when they just beat the Tennessee, they were the hunted because Tennessee was like, "Listen, you took me out. I'm gonna do that." So now the Chiefs are coming back in and they're doing the same thing. You're the hunted. I wanted you. You
yeah.
know, I don't know if they're that team that's ready to be a Kansas City where everybody's hunting them and they still figure out how to play. However, if they do figure out how to win this game, which I'm not 100% sure that they can't, I just don't think that they will. Then you got to start talking about them in terms of a Super Bowl contender now, and just over these last 2 weeks alone, like
Yeah.
if like they could take your best shot, which they're getting, and it's still like we'll win that too, and we'll figure out how to win that too. Then this is a different type of situation, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna see. I think again it's another juggernaut of a game. I think it's going to be. I mean, look, the line's 2.5 right now. It's probably because Cincinnati's at home that it's not larger. But
Yes.
even thinks this is almost a coin flip. Like it's almost there where I doubt we'll see some sort of blowout. But yeah, I think you're right along the lines of it's going to be one of the better games of the week. Definitely one of the more better quarterback matchups that you can see. Two young studs. I don't even know if we can consider Patrick Mahomes a young stud anymore. I mean, he's like in the older half of the quarterbacks that are starting, if you did not know that, at like 26 or whatever. So,
Timmy, are you aware that the Cowboys are playing the Colts this week?
yeah, yes, I am. I was going to bring it up earlier in the show, but I didn't want to initially rub in the point spread. I think,
What's the point spread?
hold on, let me just scan this quickly. I think the Cowboys and the Colts game is the largest spread released today of the weekend. And yes, it is, unless I missed one, but 10.5 favorites for the Cowboys.
Oof, oof.
10.5. Now, this is my Cowboys fanhood. There's no way in hell we beat the Colts by 10.5. I don't see it. The Colts have actually been playing reasonably good ball since Jeff Saturday has been the coach. I mean, he's lost 2, but what did we necessarily expect? this is one of those games where if the Cowboys can come out and win by 21, then I'm like, all right, we're good. We've like figured it out, right? Like I know it's the Colts, but for me, the Cowboys can come out and like put a romping on this team like they did the Vikings. Then I'm like, all right, we can actually. I feel more comfortable going into some of these games because this is the game, Tariq. This is the goddamn game, Tariq, that the Cowboys come in and lose by 3. I swear to God, they'll lose 24-21, look like shit. Defense won't make a tackle. Jonathan Taylor will have 303 yards. It's going to be ridiculous. So 10.5 point spread. You might want to just pick the Colts here. I'm going to probably bet the Colts straight up just in case if they do lose or the Cowboys do lose, I win a little bit of money in my pocket because I won't be able to take the heartbreak.
Okay. So, Tim, you've known me for how long have you known me, Timmy?
I mean, shit, it's been over 20 years.
So we've known each other since 6th grade. So that means you know how I get down. Timmy, if you think I'm going to miss the opportunity to pick my Colts to go into Dallas and win, you have lost your mind and you've never paid attention to me at all. Let me tell you how this is going to happen. I'm going to tell you how this is going to happen. Okay? First of all, Jonathan Taylor is about to go off. Okay? If it's one thing that I think we've got to learn, especially because we just lost to the Steelers, is that we got to run Jonathan Taylor. We got to stop thinking about passing the ball so much. We got to run the ball. And we got to do play action pass. I think this is a game where they're like, all right, cool. You got to go. If you're going to go into a stadium and win, you've got to run the ball. You have to establish the run. Also, our defense is like a top 5 defense. It's very sad that our defense has to go through what our offensive woes are. But our defense is top 5 defense. And I think when you win the matchup, when you look at the matchup, I think it's not a big mismatch all in all. But I do think this is a game where when you look at the record, Dallas will look at this and say, oh, we don't have to put our best effort up to beat them. Yeah. And I think that is where we come in and we go into Dallas. So now, and listen, I'm doubling down on it. Well, I'm picking us with the points and I'm picking us to win, okay? We are going in and I should have just wore my Colts jersey just to put it on in this moment. I'm telling you, we're going to win.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's going to sound good, right?
The Cowboys are going to win. The Cowboys are going to win. But, if like I said, if it ends up 24-21, because that's what it'll end up being, the Cowboys losing to the Colts will be wild. I mean, looking here, defenses are pretty similar. I was just looking at some of the stats here. So the defenses are actually pretty similar in stats. Yards allowed are 325 to 336. Actually, the Cowboys giving up a little bit more. Pass yards allowed are within in 2 points, and then your rushing yards allowed are actually better than the Cowboys. So to your point, Jonathan Taylor can feast. Here's the thing: if at any point you have to have Matt Ryan bail you out, if you're down by more than 10, Micah Parsons is going to eat him alive. He might have 4 sacks himself. Like he might actually have 4 sacks himself. Now, to be, I don't know that it'll get to that point, but if it turns into where Matt Ryan has to throw the ball, it's good. It's game over. I mean,
oh yes, we're losing that game. Yeah, like if Michael Parsons is able to have 4 sacks, then we're having a different conversation. Which is why I'm saying we know we have to play a certain way, and if they don't play that way, then I'm coming here very angry. But I think we know that we have to play a certain way, and Michael Parsons can't go off. The only way with our offensive line, the only way he's not going to go off is if we hand the ball off. Yeah. So I think we know that, but I'm saying Jonathan Taylor about to have like $150.
Good. He might.
That's what I'm saying.
He honestly might. I mean, the Cowboys have had some tough stretches against teams that run the ball. Who was it that it was Chicago, right? Like, wasn't it Chicago that just ate them up on the ground? Yeah, I mean,
it's happened a couple of times. It's
happened a couple of times, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, to me, for the Cowboys, for me to be like, all right, we're good. this is one of those games that I'm looking at ESPN right now, and Stephen A. Smith's face is in my, on my screen, and I can see him screaming about something about the Cowboys. Just, have patience. They're going to give one back. They're going to give up a game where they shouldn't lose. This is setting up to be one of those games, right, where the Colts have a solid defense. They're actually just looking at the defensive stats, team stats. They're better than the Cowboys right now in team stats. Where the Cowboys defense, though, has been just absolutely phenomenal. Again, leading the league in sacks and top 5 in turnovers. Right. So that, if they shut down, if they're able to, keep Jonathan Taylor under 100, 80 yards or something like that, and keep him off the field and let their workhorses, if they have another, if the Cowboys have another 160, 170 on the ground between Zeke and Tony Pollard, then, you guys are in for a long day. I'm hoping personally, Tariq, we talk about this next Monday, Tuesday, and it's another 40-0 rout by the Cowboys.
Listen, I was actually, while you was talking, I was even thinking about a score. I even have a score for you.
You have a score? What's this? Let me hear.
Colts 20, Cowboys 17.
It's exactly Colts. Yeah, it's exactly what it would be. Now, I mean, that's a lot of points for the Colts. They're only averaging like 15 a game. So
yeah, I know. Like, we're gonna have to get a little bit more. Like, we can't score 14 points and beat the Cowboys. I'm sorry. It's gonna happen. So, like, for me to be like this, I'm telling you, it's gonna be. I'm not saying we're gonna put up 30 because we ain't never did that. We're probably not gonna do that this whole year. 20.
Yeah. We talked about this all the time. If the Cowboys score more than like 21, they're most likely winning the game.
Yes.
But if they score under 21, they're most likely losing. Like, all of their games are between like 28 and 24 to 24 to 17. Like, that's like, I mean, outside of a few, but we'll see. This will be another one, though. This is another one that sets up for Jeff Saturday to win, and then everyone to talk about Jeff Saturday. He's next best hot coach, even though he's really just he's just really a fill-in for the remainder of the year.
He's not the long-term coach.
There's no chance.
He can't. No chance. He's not experienced enough. But yeah, so that basically is it for this week. So we still got I still want to hear some spread picks. Now, I gave you one already because I told you I'm doubling down. This is a college you don't know football first. I am doubling down.
So you're just betting wise. Let's hear it then. I want you to take this, not just the spread. Are you taking the Colts straight up on your bets? Just so you know, they're plus 430. Plus 430. The Cowboys are minus 600, which is like, you don't lose that game at minus 600.
Listen, Tim, I don't know if you just saw my energy when you said what you put money on. You see, I just I'm down a little bit there.
They take the points.
I think I'm gonna keep it on the spread because I'm confident on that.
And I'll give this to you. It actually shifted already. I'll give it to you just here. The line is going to 11.
It's going up.
It's going to.
You're going to be hurt. Go ahead. You finish your spread. I'm gonna see if there's any if there's going to be any injuries. If y'all got any injuries,
I'm taking going back to one of the games we picked earlier. I'm taking the +5 for the New England Patriots against the Buffalo Bills. So I think, as we both mentioned earlier, thinking that the Patriots actually get it done and win at home against the Bills this week, give me those points all day long. Because even so, here we talked about this though, anything over 3 in these NFL games, like you talk about having the hook and stuff like that. So for me, if it was 7.5, that would even be better. Obviously, those extra 2 points. But anything really over 3 for me is like, let me take that because I think the Patriots have a chance anyway. So getting 5 at the moment, we'll see how that moves. Buffalo, again, have been winning games, but you just beat the Lions by 3. I don't care if you win by 3 according, when it comes to this, the picks, right? So if I'm going to be able to get them into have to kick a field goal to win a game again, then that's fine by me. Now, if they win by a touchdown, it's very possible. But Patriots have been looking reasonably good. We'll see if their defense is able to do anything. They just gave up 33 against Minnesota. So, Josh Allen might have his way with them. But that's going to be my first pick there is the Patriots at +5 at home.
Okay. I was all right, cool. So I was thinking about I was just looking at that Chiefs Bengals game to see if I was gonna go with that. Um
That's a
well,
tough pick, man.
but I think I'm gonna avoid that one. So all right, here's one. Here's a good one. Um you know Deshaun Watson's coming back this week, right?
Oh yeah, I meant to talk about that with Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're actually favored by 7 against Houston. And I'm gonna take Houston plus 7, actually. I think he's coming back to Houston and they're gonna want to beat him and they're gonna be inspired to beat him because he was the quarterback there for all these years, and I think they at least keep it close.
So +7, the Houston Texans, who have like one win and a tie against your Colts. All
The
right.
same team. So I didn't say they were gonna win, I said they're gonna keep it underneath the 7. There's
Yeah,
my
no,
So,
that's
because
fair.
like
That's
the
fine.
7 basically means, all right. So when you talk about spread, 7 actually basically means, do I think that they would beat them by 10? That's how when I think about things that I'm doing. So it's like, because winning at 7, that would be even. So to say, do I think they beat them by more than 7? That means, do I think they beat them by closer to 10? And I don't. So I think they're going to keep it close.
Here's a line that is, I want this where it's at because I can get I'm looking at this now. The Minnesota Vikings -3 against the New York Jets this week.
The Minnesota Vikings. Okay. I thought I heard that wrong. Okay.
No, no, yeah, but so they're a 3-point favorite, but I feel like that's a little low of a spread at the moment. And without it being over 3, I like it at 3. If it was like 3.5, I'd probably stay away. 4, I stay away. But I think the New York Jets, right? Like, cool. They came out and smoked the Chicago Bears.
But they also benched Zach Wilson.
But here's my point: is Mike White like he wasn't starting, right? So look, yes, he played a lot better than Zach Wilson has played. And Zach Wilson hasn't been able to do anything. He's shown us that for time and time again. But Mike White didn't have a starting job, right? Like, so my point about that is it was the Chicago Bears. Yes, he looked great. That's fine. They didn't even commit to starting Mike White this game against the Vikings. Like they haven't even committed to giving up Zach Wilson in this position. So I think at 3 right now, like the Minnesota Vikings are out there beating people, right? Like, a lot of them are close games. I'm looking at it last, so there are a few games by 3, but it's give me the 3 points. I can get a push. If not, they'll probably win by like 6 or 8, right? Somewhere in that range. If the Jets come out and win that game, absolutely wild, but it's in Minnesota. So I also get the home field advantage. Yeah, so give me that one as my next one. The Vikings -3. I might have to download DraftKings again and put in some of these bets. I'm pretty confident about these.
Man, listen, man, if I have a lot of business expenses, I'll be betting a lot more. But after this year, then I'll have a lot more money. But
All right.
so in your picks, just so we're clear, in your spread picks, you have the Vikings -3, and who was the first one?
The Patriots +5.
Patriots +5. Okay, and I got the Colts +11 now. That's ridiculous.
11.
That's ridiculous.
That's a big number.
and I am taking, who the heck did I just take? Oh,
Uh,
I picked Houston +7
we already forgot.
against the Ravens.
All right, cool.
All right, cool, man. This was an exciting episode, man. A lot was going on, you know.
Good games. It's December, dude. We got what, 5 weeks, 4 weeks left of football? How many
Yes.
games we have? 5, right? Including this one.
Well, this is week 13 coming in now, so 4. So we got 17 weeks. No, we got 18 weeks.
Yeah, 18 weeks,
So
right?
5.
We got
Yeah.
13. Yep. Yep. So right through the end of the first week of January, give or take. So let's get rowdy. That should be fun.
Let's get rowdy.
Let's lock. All right, brother. Anything else for today? I know we'll do this again. We'll talk about new playoff predictions next week. I think I have to revise the Rams.
I think there's some things that need to be. I think that's a pretty easy thing to.
I think the other one I had out there was Green Bay Packers. I think we need to revise that one too. So
well, you do, you do. But I told you that the Minnesota Vikings were going to win this. You might need to revise some things with that. Yes. All right, cool, man. Listen, man, this has been great, Tim. You already know.
All right, brother. Yeah, always a pleasure. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, once again, because you don't know football. And watch the Colts this week.
Yeah, right. Get them trounced. All right, brother. Peace.
All right. See you, family.